The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace, their massive warships casting long shadows over the cold expanse of space. They had arrived at Earth. Admiral Tyron stood on the bridge of his flagship, Dominator, his yellow eyes scanning the blue planet below. He had conquered dozens of worlds, crushed countless civilizations, and expanded the reach of the Galactic Empire across the stars. Earth would be no different. "Scan the planet," he ordered, his voice calm and confident. The sensors officer worked quickly, but after a few moments, he frowned. "Sir, there is something strange." Tyron turned, his expression unchanged. "Strange? Explain." "The humans have technology, but it is different. Primitive in some ways, advanced in others." The officer hesitated. "Their defenses seem weak, but there are gaps in our readings, places where we can't detect anything." Tyron scoffed. "Another species trying to hide in the shadows. It will not save them." He turned to his tactical officer. "Deploy the first wave. Let's show these humans what true power looks like." The order was given, and the first fleet moved in. 10 Imperial warships, each large enough to level cities, descended toward Earth. Their weapons primed, their shields raised, their pilots eager for an easy victory. The galaxy had seen this many times before. No one had ever stopped the Empire. Until now. As the Imperial ships approached, Earth remained silent. No response, no defense fleets, nothing. It was almost too quiet. Commander Zorak, leading the first wave, grinned. "They're either too scared or too foolish to fight." He opened the communication channel to his fleet. "Weapons free. Let's burn their largest city to ash." Just as the first warship locked onto its target, everything changed. A bright flash appeared on their scanners, followed by another, and another. Suddenly, their targeting systems failed. The holographic displays flickered, their ship's sensors jammed by an unknown force. "What's happening?" Zorak demanded. A low beeping sound filled the bridge. An alarm, not from their systems, but from something else, something coming from behind them. Then the attacks began. From the darkness of space, human warships emerged like ghosts, small, agile, and faster than anything the Empire had ever encountered. They didn't charge head-on like other species had foolishly done. No, they struck from the flanks, from behind, from below, hitting the Imperial ships where their defenses were weakest. Explosions ripped through the fleet. Zorak's warship took a direct hit. Sparks flew as control panels burst apart. His crew screamed as another impact sent them tumbling to the ground. "This is impossible," he shouted. "Where did they come from?" But there was no time for answers. The humans were everywhere. On the Dominator, Admiral Tyron watched the battle unfold, his confidence replaced with cold fury. "How?" he whispered. "The humans were supposed to be weak. This was not weakness." The tactical officer's hands shook as he relayed the damage reports. 3 ships destroyed, 2 heavily damaged. The humans, they're using tactics we've never seen before. They jammed our signals, cut off our communications, and they move faster than we can track. Tyron clenched his jaw. He had never seen an enemy fight like this. The humans were not using sheer strength. They were using intelligence, precision, strategy. A new alert flashed across his screen. A message. It was from the humans. A single sentence appeared in his language. "You are not welcome here." Tyron's grip tightened on the armrest of his chair. This was not going to be the simple invasion he had planned. No, this was something else. A war. The Imperial fleet was in chaos. What was supposed to be an easy conquest had turned into a nightmare. Admiral Tyron stood motionless, watching the tactical display as his warships struggled to respond. The humans had trapped them. The enemy ships moved like nothing he had ever seen. Fast, unpredictable, and coordinated. They weaved through the Imperial formation, striking with brutal precision. Every blast from their weapons hit a critical system. Every maneuver left the Empire's ships vulnerable. Zirin's second-in-command, Commander Vorin, clenched his fists. "Sir, we need to regroup. The humans there. I can see what they are doing." Tyron snapped. His mind raced. How had these primitives planned so well? The Empire had fought countless wars, yet here they were, being outplayed. On the battlefield, another Imperial dreadnought exploded, torn apart by a series of well-placed strikes. One ship, just one. But in minutes, it had destroyed a vessel 5 times its size. "This is no accident," Vorin muttered. "They knew we were coming." The thought sent a chill through the bridge. Xiron's eyes narrowed. If the humans had anticipated this invasion, then it meant they had been preparing for war. "Order the fleet to pull back," Xiron said. "We need to change our approach." The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, the humans are jamming our signals." Silence filled the bridge. No reinforcements, no escape orders. They were cut off. And then the humans sent another message. Simple, direct. "This is your only warning. Leave or be destroyed." Admiral Xiron's claws dug into the armrest of his command chair. No species had ever dared to challenge the Empire like this. No species had ever won. But something told him these humans were different. And for the first time in his long career, he wasn't sure if victory was possible. "You said the battlefield was no longer an invasion site. It was a graveyard." Wreckage from destroyed Imperial warships drifted silently through space, burning fragments casting eerie lights against the darkness. The fleet had been shattered, and the humans were still hunting. Admiral Xiron's mind raced as he studied the battlefield. Every tactic he had relied on for decades had failed. The humans refused to engage in direct combat, using speed and precision to dismantle the Empire's superior firepower. It wasn't just an ambush. It was a carefully designed slaughter. "Status report," he growled. Vorin hesitated. "Half of our fleet is gone. The rest are scattered and under pursuit. The humans." He swallowed. "They are picking us off one by one." Xiron's claws tapped rhythmically against his command chair. This was unacceptable. The Empire was supposed to be invincible. Yet here, in a distant corner of the galaxy, an insignificant species was proving otherwise. "They have technology far more advanced than we expected," the tactical officer muttered. "Not in raw power, but in tactics, in adaptability. They are jamming our sensors, disrupting our formations. They were ready for us, Admiral." That truth was bitter, but undeniable. Another explosion rocked the Dominator as a human strike team disabled a nearby escort cruiser. A precise hit to its engine core, one that sent the vessel spiraling into the wreckage of another destroyed ship. Xiron exhaled slowly. He had underestimated them. They all had. "We need to consolidate our forces," he said at last. "Pull back the remaining ships. Find a defensive position." "Sir," Vorin hesitated. "That might not be possible." Xiron turned sharply. The view screen flickered, and suddenly, human warships appeared directly ahead of them. Sleek, black, and nearly invisible in the void, they had outmaneuvered the Empire's fleet once again. They weren't just winning the battle. They were controlling it. And now, they were closing in for the kill. "You said." The Dominator shuddered under another direct hit. The bridge was filled with flashing alarms and the acrid smell of burning circuits. Admiral Xiron gripped the edge of his chair, his claws digging into the metal. This was not a battle anymore. It was a massacre. The human warships, smaller and seemingly fragile compared to the Empire's dreadnoughts, moved like shadows, striking with deadly precision. They didn't waste shots on the heavily armored hulls. Instead, they targeted weapons, engines, and communication systems, crippling ships instead of destroying them outright. Xiron's fleet had always relied on superior firepower to dominate enemies. Now, that power meant nothing. His ships couldn't even fire back properly. "Admiral," Vorin shouted over the chaos, "we've lost 4 more warships. The humans are cutting us apart." Zirin clenched his jaw. How had this happened? The Empire's technology was supposed to be centuries ahead of anything Earth could produce. But this wasn't about raw power. This was strategy. The humans had outthought them from the beginning. They knew how the Empire fought. They had studied their invasions, learned their weaknesses, and created a battlefield where brute strength was useless. The bridge lights flickered, and another alert blared. "Their ships are closing in, Admiral," the tactical officer said, his voice tight with fear. "They're cutting off our escape routes. If we don't act now." A transmission interrupted him. The main view screen switched to a new image, a human officer. She was calm, collected, and completely unafraid. Her uniform was dark, marked only by a small insignia, a symbol of Earth's forces. "This is Captain Reyes of the UHS Valkyrie," she said, her voice unwavering. "Your fleet is finished. Stand down now, and we will spare the survivors." Zirin's fists clenched, the arrogance, the sheer audacity of these humans. But deep down, he knew the truth. They had won. "You said." Silence hung over the Dominator's bridge, broken only by the distant echoes of alarms and the panicked chatter of officers desperately trying to salvage what remained of the Imperial fleet. Captain Reyes' message still lingered in the air. Surrender. The word was a poison in Admiral Zirin's mind. "Admiral." Voron's voice was quiet but firm. "We have to face reality. We cannot win this." Zirin's claws twitched against his armrest. He had never known defeat, not like this. The Empire had crushed countless worlds, broken civilizations under its might. But here, at the hands of humans, they were being dissected piece by piece. His gaze flickered to the tactical display. Wreckage filled the void. What was left of his once mighty fleet was barely holding formation. The humans were circling them like hunters waiting for the final strike. And yet they weren't firing. Reyes had given them a chance, a rare mercy. For the first time in his long career, Zirin hesitated. He could order a final, desperate assault, but it would achieve nothing. Every move he had made, the humans had anticipated. If they attacked, the fleet would be wiped out within minutes. A sharp beep pulled his attention. Another transmission. But this time, it wasn't from the humans. The holoscreen flickered to life, revealing a towering figure clad in deep crimson armor, a high warlord of the Empire. Admiral Chiron. The warlord's voice was cold, emotionless. "Explain yourself. Why is the conquest of Earth not yet complete?" Zirin felt a weight settle over him. The Empire never tolerated failure. His mind raced. If he surrendered, he would be branded a traitor, a coward unworthy of command. If he fought to the last, he would die, and the remnants of his fleet would die with him. And yet, if he lived, if he returned to the Empire, perhaps he could warn them. The humans weren't just another species to conquer. They were something else, something the Empire had never faced before. His decision was made. He took a deep breath, his voice steady as he answered the High Warlord. "The humans are not what we expected." "You said." The High Warlord's piercing gaze bore into Zirin through the holoscreen, his expression unreadable. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken judgment. Admitting weakness to the Empire was dangerous, but lying would be worse. "The humans anticipated our attack," Zirin continued. "They disabled our communications, fragmented our formations, and executed precise strikes. Their tactics are beyond what we predicted. They are more than capable of resisting us." Voron stiffened beside him, no doubt realizing the weight of those words. To acknowledge an enemy as an equal or worse, superior, was nearly treasonous. But Zirin wasn't concerned with politics now. The High Warlord's expression did not change. When he spoke, his voice was dangerously calm. "You disappoint me, Admiral. Are you saying that the great Imperial fleet, the very hand of our Dominion, has been defeated?" Zirin's claws dug into his chair. He could still order his remaining forces to fight, to die with honor. But honor meant nothing if the Empire refused to learn. "No," Chiron said at last. "We have not been defeated, but we are no longer the hunters. We are the hunted." A hush fell over the bridge. Even the surviving crew members turned toward him in stunned silence. The High Warlord exhaled slowly, his expression unreadable. "Then you will remedy this failure, Admiral, or you will not return at all." With that, the transmission cut out. Chiron sat motionless, the weight of the Empire's expectation pressing down on him. He had been given a death sentence. Win or perish. Vorin turned to him cautiously. "Sir, what are your orders?" Chiron's gaze shifted to the view screen, where the human fleet still loomed, waiting, watching. Captain Rice had given them a chance to surrender, but the moment was slipping away. He had two choices: continue the fight and be annihilated, or retreat and risk facing the wrath of the Empire. For the first time in his career, Chiron didn't know what to do. "You said." The silence on the Dominator's bridge was suffocating. The remaining officers waited, eyes locked on Admiral Chiron, their faces torn between fear and expectation. Their fate rested on his next words. The human fleet remained still, a predator watching its wounded prey. Captain Rice had given them a choice: surrender and live, or fight and be annihilated. Chiron's mind raced. The Empire would never forgive retreat. To return home after failing to conquer Earth would be a death sentence. And yet, fighting was suicide. The humans had already proven they could outmaneuver and dismantle his fleet with ease. His claws tapped rhythmically on the chair's armrest. No path led to victory, but there was still a way forward. Slowly, he stood. "All remaining vessels," he commanded, his voice steady. "Cease fire." Vorin's eyes widened. "Sir, you're surrendering." Chiron exhaled sharply. "No, I am surviving." He turned toward the comms officer. "Open a channel to the human fleet." The officer hesitated, then obeyed. A moment later, Captain Rice appeared on the view screen, her face calm but unreadable. Chiron met her gaze. There was no point in posturing anymore. "We will withdraw," he said simply. "We have seen enough." Rice studied him for a moment, as if measuring his words. Then she gave a slight nod. "A wise choice, Admiral. Take your wounded and leave. But know this: if the Empire returns, we will be waiting." The screen flickered off. Chiron turned back to his crew. "Set a course for the outer rim," he ordered. "Spread the word. We retreat under my command. Any captain who disobeys will be left behind." There was no resistance. The battle was lost. But Chiron knew this was not the end. As the broken remnants of the once mighty fleet turned away from Earth, one truth became clear. The Empire had made a grave mistake. Humanity was not prey. They were something far more dangerous. And soon, the Empire would learn the full extent of what that meant.